through this. All right. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm Gary Bell.
They were here for your to become certified.
I'm not. That's not me.
Yeah, no. So they didn't need my spiel.
Oh no, I'm not going to spiel, but I'm still going to tell them who I am.
Okay.
I'm Gary Bell, the Assistant Procurement Officer for the City of Chicago. I manage the small orders, commodities, architecture, engineering, construction. But overall, we do handle work services. We handle professional services, vehicle heavy equipment, because that's what you mentioned earlier. So we handle a variety of things. Actually, everything you can think of, we handle for the City of Chicago. The City of Chicago is so big, we have to have all of these components to keep us moving forward. So this is a high-level review of what we do. I'm going to talk about what our mission statement is, the laws governing the procurement process, the terms, types of procurement, which I just mentioned, all the different areas. Certification, now you just came from that workshop, so that's going to be very high level. Contract monitoring and compliance, programs and bid incentives, the DPS website, and then we'll have a question and answer period thereafter. Okay, so the mission statement is, we are the contracting authority for the procurement of goods and services for the City of Chicago, meaning for Cook County, they have their own purchasing department. City of Chicago, as you know, we're within 4 walls in terms of a geographical area. Cook County goes out a little bit further. So Tony Preckwinkle has a whole department that handles for Cook County, and we have, her name is Shannon Andrews, who handles all the procurement for the City of Chicago. And what we just say is we together work as a team with our customers, and that is the potential, those who will provide any goods or services to us, and to provide a fair and timely process by establishing, communicating, and enforcing superior business practices. Integrity, public trust, and the law are our guiding principles. So that is what our mission statement is. So we are governed by 2 municipal code acts. That's what the City Council has deemed us the ability to one, governs all of our city's procurement practices and governs all the purchasing that we do. So we can't just go out here and just buy anything. We have to do it under some type of ordinance or act. So, and those are the 2. Municipal Code 2-92, that's what it's called. All right, so terms, those are the terms that are in every bid package. So if you came today and picked up a bid package from Bid and Bond Room, it would have all of our terms and conditions. And you as a vendor, if you wanted, you would want to turn it over to an attorney to review them to make sure that every one of us understands what you're going to be getting into. You don't want to just get into something and say, oh, I didn't know that was required to do that. So that's what they're saying. Those are the procurement terms. And you should review all the bid documents and the checklist before submitting a bid. So like I said, you want to turn it over to an attorney just for the terms part, but also you want to just go through the document, make sure you understand what we're asking for, because if you are awarded that contract, you are responsible for providing everything that we're asking for from the front cover to the back, all right? All right. And so it also states that a bidder should be able to provide all of the information that is requested. So that includes insurance, that includes an economic disclosure statement. Economic disclosure statement is more everything about you as a company, meaning who you are, your name, your phone number. We ask some very in-depth questions about you as a company. And you have to disclose everything about you. I mean, and this is not your company, not your company, this is all companies are required to submit these documents with your bid, all right? All right, so procurement terms. Here are a few of them. The contract, this is the written agreement between the city and a vendor for the provision of goods and those services. And like I said, there are a number of different forms of contracts. You got work services, you got commodities, you got construction. We have small orders, which is all contracts under 100,000. So various forms of different contracts that we have. And these are going to be some terms that I throw out so you'll know what I'm talking about when I bring them up. So a bid package. So this is the set of documents, as I stated, you would pick up from here. Say, for instance, we had something on widgets, or, as he mentioned earlier, trucks. You will come to bid and bond to pick up those documents. That is the bid package. It's going to be everything that we ask for from you as a vendor to provide as a bid package. And you look it over and say, oh, yeah, I can do this, or I want this, or I want to do this. That's what you will be looking at, a bid package. An addendum. Addendum means that it's something that we change in the bid package. So it goes out on the street, you pick it up, and they say, you know, instead of 12 items, we want 13. So that 13th item will be added to the bid package. They let you know by addendum, and you say, okay, I need to respond to 13 items versus 12 items. So that's what that means. An amendment or modification, what does that mean? That means you have the contract. You are now the provider to the city of Chicago for these goods and services, and now we want to modify it. How do we modify it? We may want to change the terms and conditions of a contract. We may want to add money to it. We may want to extend it. But we do need agreement from you and the city. So that's unilateral. We need both parties to say, we agree to this change to the contract. So we can't just go and change your contract without discussing it with you, and it's usually a formal amendment or a modification, okay? So, bids. What is bids? That is probably 75% of what we do as a city. Bids are the majority, like I said, the majority are awarded through competitive bidding. That means that you will pick up your bid package, you go and decide what kind of price you want to provide for that item. You come back on the day of the bid opening date. They will then read those bids aloud, and that's what bids are. And these bids mean, much like, if anybody heard of eBay, that means you are bidding on some type of item. And it could be, like I mentioned, or it could be a goods or a service. So that is, like I say, the majority of what we do here. Or we have a request for a proposal. That's a professional term that we use to solicit to implement a new project requiring professional services. So that could be computer installation or something very, very high tech. Or some other examples for proposals. We have one now, we have for office supplies. Everybody think, oh, that's just paper and all that. But no, we want to actually be able to have a vendor to also be able to service us, give us ideas on how to manage, because you're talking about citywide all office supplies. So that's why we would go through an RFP for that. A request for qualification, this is used to possess a high technical expertise and knowledge in specific disciplines, and we use those mainly in architectural and engineering. And how do we use that? We gather maybe 10 to 15 companies in a pool, and then they will be responsible because of their technical expertise, say building a bridge. I don't know if you've ever seen the bridges that they're doing on maybe 43rd and Lakeshore Drive. They will want those firms not to build it, they want them to design it. City don't have the capacity to say we want the in-house crews to go out there and draw a bridge and go all the, so they have a list of firms in this pool from us, this request for qualifications, and they'll choose a vendor that can be able to do that work. And that's called a request for qualifications. All right, so I mentioned earlier that these are all the types of procurements. I mentioned small orders, so that's everything that's under $100,000. Then you have competitive bids. Obviously, that's everything above $100,000. And those competitive bids can be construction, it can be commodities, it can be work services, meaning there's a commodity and some type of maintenance or services portion, vehicles and heavy equipment. Those are the main competitive bids that we have. Request for proposal, I think I spoke to what that is, like I say, office supplies. Request for qualifications, that is, as I mentioned, you go out to a pool of firms and they will design the different things in the city of Chicago because the in-house crew could not do it. And job order contracts. That is a construction term, and we do have workshops on that, but those firms would do small maintenance type of repairs for the various CDOT, fleet and facility management, aviation, and they would do small jobs because of all the in-house crews would not be able to do so. So job order contract is a vehicle that the city uses to get small repairs done in the city of Chicago. Okay, and I mentioned that like I said, we do have workshops. Matter of fact, coming up on May 2nd next week, if you wanted more information about what a job order contract is. All right, so small orders. As I mentioned, is everything under 100,000. It can be goods and or services. All right. There's no formal bid or specification or public advertising required. So what they're saying is you don't have to, you won't see it in the Sun Times. All bids over $100,000 have to be advertised. So these do not have to be advertised. Quotes may be by telephone, fax, or written quotation posted on the DPS website. All right? And the City of Chicago certified MBE, WBE firms are solicited first. So if any of you are MBE, WBE firms, this would be an option. But you have to be able also, whatever the type of good that they're looking for. Like today we had a pre-bid for Ricoh printers. This is some of these things are really like fine-tuned to what they need. So they need something that the city does not have. So a small order is a vehicle that they would use to be able to get this item. Okay? And MBWB compliance is required only for bids over $10,000. So everything under 10, there's no goals, there's no requirement for a MBWBE for them to go out and solicit someone for that work. Okay, so that's small orders. So competitive bids is on the other side of it. These are everything that's over $100,000. As I mentioned, these have to be advertised, and it's also in the Chicago Sun-Times. If you want to look at any of our bids that's on the street, you can go to that website. That's www.cityofchicago.org/procurement. And that will list all of our bids that are on the street. Or if you want to come here and physically look at the documents, you could come here to Bid and Bond Room, room 103. That's where we are right now today. The bid solicitation period, we like to have it on the street for a minimum of 10 days. That gives you a chance to digest the information, take it to whomever, because say for instance, you might want to let someone else look at it to provide a portion of the bid that you're looking at. You can, that's why we have the 10 to 30 days. 30 days is the longest period, 10 days being the shortest period. And it does say that a planned deposit may be required for some bids. That is usually on a construction-related project. Okay? All right. So with competitive bids, we usually have a pre-bid. A pre-bid is an opportunity for us all to get together right in the middle of the project and be able to discuss what they are looking for. So you'll have a subject matter expert that will come and stand here and tell you about the project. And then you as a vendor would ask questions. See, there's question and answers. We actually tell you that the bidders are intended to encouraged, and it usually results in an addendum because those questions sometimes are not able to be answered by that subject matter expert. So we ask for an addendum or clarification, and that will go to everybody who has taken out that specification. So, okay? So, if there is not a pre-bid bid, bidders are encouraged to review the spec and during the bid solicitation period, that's that 10 to 30-day period, and contact the person on that particular specification, that's the senior procurement specialist who is responsible for it, and ask questions. You have the right to ask questions all the way up until the bid opening date. So we encourage you to ask questions because sometimes it can result in us getting a lower price because it's something that you saw that we was not aware of. So that's why we asked you to ask questions during that entire bid period. All right. Oh, let me get that. All right, so the bid documents. So when you pick up your bid documents from Bid and Bond Room, we ask that you first look them over, and then make sure you look at all the pages, and then you want to fill in all of the required information. You don't want to leave anything blank. You want to make sure if something says to get notarized, you get it notarized. And it says also the bid's document must be submitted and executed with the bid. If not, the bid could be rejected. Rejected means that the specialist or the person who is handling that bid is going to send you a letter saying that you didn't do X, Y, Z, and your bid is now deemed rejected. And we encourage you to look at future bids, but next time, make sure that you execute the documents, sign and execute the documents, and as I mentioned earlier, notarize. That's very important. That means somebody has to witness your signature or somebody in your company and put that notary, and it cannot be an expired notary as well, okay? All right, so the bid submittal. This is the day that you turn in your document. Bid deposit, bid bond or deposit may be required. So that means when you bring your bid to bid and bond room, that means that you may be required to provide, and this, like I said, this is mainly for those construction projects, with 10% of the contract amount. So if it was $1 million, your bid was for $1 million, you have to come in with 10% of that. So you bring in $100,000. Yeah, is it? Yeah, of that bid. So, and it must be, and it's not in the form of cash. It must be in a bid bond or cash or money order. Okay, and it must be timely on the bid opening date. So the bid is specified in the bid what date the bids are due, and it opens. All bids open at 11 a.m. except for RFPs, requests for proposals, and requests for qualifications. All of those open at 4 o'clock. All bids open at 11 a.m. sharp, and they go by the clock on the wall right there. That's why they have the clock there. So, okay. So as I just mentioned earlier, all Monday through Friday, except major holidays, at 11 a.m. in this room right here. All right, and bids are open and read aloud. Bids are tabulated, meaning that they are sent upstairs. We're on the room 806. I don't know if anyone knows. Procurement's in room 806 upstairs. And their bids are tabulated. Tabulated means that they go through your numbers and make sure that they're accurate. So 10 times 1 is 10, whatever. They're going to make sure all of that is correct. And then they send that tabulation, and that's why they say review for accuracy and completeness. And then, that usually happens 24 hours after the bid opening. Okay? And after that, then we're talking about the award process. All right? So with the award process, determination is made regarding the bidder's responsiveness and responsibility for award. So responsiveness means if we said that we needed an insurance certificate revised, like the one you provided was, it didn't cover the automobile, it didn't cover general liability. We asked for that, and you provide it back, then you're being responsive. If you don't respond to us in a certain period of time, then you're considered non-responsive. Responsibility means on the other end of being able to do what we ask for. So in some cases we may ask for samples. You say you can provide the widget, I use that as an example, but we ask for samples and you provide something different. Then that speaks to non-responsible because you as a vendor did not provide what we said we needed in that particular spec. Okay, so that's why we talk about responsiveness and responsibility. And during the award, the user department will provide to us a recommendation of award. That means that they reviewed your documents, everything was what they, when they put out the bid, everything matched what they wanted. Then they will give to us, meaning the specialist, a recommendation of award. Say, yes, we will award to this vendor X amount of dollars to do this work. The acceptable bids are packaged, meaning that we now put this all together to present to our CPO for signature, and that's our Chief Procurement Officer, and it's also signed by the mayor. And then, and that's why it says, are routed through the signature approval process, and that's what that means. They got to go to the 3 signatures: Comptroller, our Chief Procurement Officer, and the mayor. Small orders only have to go to our Chief Procurement Officer and the comptroller. Those only two for that. The mayor does not sign off on the small orders. All right? Now, a contractor performance and payment bond and assurance are all required for a construction project, just so you're aware of that. And also at the bottom say a contract is awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder meeting all of the city specifications. All right. So, requests for proposals. As I mentioned earlier, this is, like I say, a unique situation. This is usually when we're trying to implement a new project requiring professional services. And like I said, it's used when the city does not have in-house employees to do, so this is why we go outside to be able to do this. So the RFP will define our scope of services, but it doesn't detail every aspect of implementing the project. So you as a vendor would have to be able to implement those services. It requires a detailed evaluation of the proposal by evaluation committee. That means the city will look for 3 individuals or more that's going to sit on this committee, and when those proposals come in, they will review those submittals. All right, and low price is not, on any RFQ or RFP, low price is not the determining factor. We look at the qualifications of the vendor. We want to make sure that they can provide what we're looking for, and if they're qualified and the employees that's going to be assigned to it can do it. And that's why it says award is made to the highest rated and ranked respondent. Okay? All right, so request for qualification. We go back to what I mentioned earlier about the bridge. Is used to solicit qualifications from companies who possess a high degree of technical expertise. And what the city does is they pre-qualifies companies. So if we go out for a RFQ, we might get over 100 companies that will respond to that RFQ. So what we do is, out of that 100, we're going to pre-qualify maybe 20 of those firms, okay? And it's called a vendor pool. So those 20 are going to sit in that pool until we have, and we'll go back to the bridge example, and say a bridge needs to be built. We're going to go to those 20 firms and say, we need you to put together your proposal package. Now we ask for a package, how much you're going to do it for, who's the personnel that's going to be responsible for doing it, and then that is submitted to the evaluation committee to review. They're going to look at those vendors and say, okay, company A seems to do it the best, and it's not always best on price. It's matched on who's qualified to do it, who's available, and who understands who regurgitates what we wanted in this RFQ. Who is we're going to do the best job in doing it, and then that company is going to be awarded to do that work on that bridge. And they do it until the actual completion of that bridge. So they're going to work with the construction company when they're brought on to build it, and they're going to go all the way to the fruition of that bridge. Okay? Like I said, there's no cost proposal. Fee schedule is negotiated later as part of the agreement. And like I said, this is used mainly for A&E design contracts. All right. As I mentioned earlier, job order contracts, like I said, we're going to have the same presentation next week on May 2nd. Like I said, and it's used to solicit qualifications from companies, same way as a degree of technical expertise and knowledge in specific disciplines. As I mentioned earlier, and it is used to accomplish small to medium-sized projects. So this is a way for, like I said, if the city doesn't have an in-house crew to do the work, they would look at JOC to do these little small jobs. And see, instead of bidding every small or medium construction job, they would use JOC. Okay? And that's JOC stands for Job Order Contracts. And general contractors are solicited to respond to these JOC specs, and it contains a unit price book. So, and like I said, they will go into detail about what that is at that JOC presentation. All right? And like I said, it's awarded to the contract offering the most favorable adjustment factor. That adjustment factor is much like a low bid, but they calculate that to determine what the price will be. So, and like I say, the value of the JOC contract depends on department needs and their budget. So, very helpful for us as a city. So, I mentioned earlier about what we require with your documents. Remember I talked about bid documents? Economic disclosure statement is inside of that document that you need to complete. And remember I told you everything disclosed about you as a company. Everything, and like I said, it asks a lot of personal questions that you as a company have to disclose. And we want to know about all the owners on the company, and it is mandatory for most solicitations. And in addition to the applicant, anybody who owns more than 7.5% interest, direct or indirectly, in the applicant firm must also file an EDS. So if there's more than one company, somebody owns that company, they have to submit an EDS too. We go all the way to the tree, as we call it. We look at all of the firms that may own, say, company A owns company B. We need an EDS, or economic disclosure, from company A as well as company B. We need both. And that, because we want to know the company A is not making a decision without company B, so we want to know the whole entity of both of those, all right? All right, so like I said, I know a lot of you guys were here for the certification. Like I said, this is more high level. These are the 6 types of certifications. All right, and here's the basic eligibility requirements. And it's kind of standard across the board, even for all the other types of departments or what they want as well. Businesses must be at least 51% owned and controlled by qualifying minorities, women, veterans, individual with disabilities or other disadvantaged individuals. Businesses must be all small businesses, and they must be independent and viable. So I'm sure that Ms. Sonia Larkin spoke on a lot of these. All right. Now, MBE, WBE, DBE participation, these are the various municipal codes that we follow. And it's, was that section 292-420 sets forth the city's minority-owned and women-owned business enterprise procurement program for all contracts other than construction. And then you have the other one, 292-650, and this is for construction projects. So that 292 is called a municipal code, and these are what we follow as a city when we are making these decisions regarding MBE, WBE, and DBE participation. All right. All right. So MBE, WBE participation, those goals should be met through direct participation. That means if we have a construction project, direct means we want to know if you have an MBE on or a WBE on the job, what are they doing directly to help with the completion of this job? That's what direct means. Are they going to be digging a ditch for you on that job? Are they going to be providing the cement for the project? That's direct. Indirect would be, which we will not accept, if somebody office applies for a construction project. That's called indirect, and that's not acceptable for a participation. And they must perform a commercially useful function. That means, like I mentioned, if they're bringing the concrete to the site and they're providing it, that's commercially useful. Somebody who you have who's digging the hole for you, that's commercially useful function. All right, and then that's the way. We actually call that CUF, but what constitutes a commercially useful function? As I mentioned, somebody digging a ditch, somebody bringing the cement to the actual site. And they give a definition, say responsible for the execution of a distinct element of the work of the contract, which is carried out by actually performing, managing, and supervising the work involved, or fulfilling responsibilities as a joint venture. Joint venture means company A and company B went on this job together. That's the joint venture. They both should be doing equal amount of work on that project. All right. Now the reduction, waiver, and good faith efforts. This is if you're on a job that said, well, there's a bid package that you looked at and you saw that there was nothing that you could find MBE or WBE for. So you said, I looked, I could not find, I'm going to request either a reduction, a waiver, or I'm going to fill out for the good faith effort that I've searched. And we do need documentation that you went out and searched all of the different agencies. I mean, we have all the different assist agencies are in the spec, and you should look at those when you're putting together a bid. We have all the agencies that looks at all of the different ethnicities, and they find companies that should be able to help you. If you can't, though, and that's why we ask you to document that, you will put in for either a reduction, waiver, or a good faith effort. In this case, this is demonstrate to the satisfaction of the CPO, which is the Chief Procurement Officer, that you made good faith efforts to meet its WBE and MBE utilization goals. Okay. So once you have vendors on your plan, now you've been awarded the contract, right? Now is the time to find out. You have your subs doing the work. Now it's time for contract monitoring and the compliance. That means now we want to, you say you have company A doing this type of work, somebody's going to come out there and check to make sure company A is doing that work. So we do have someone that goes, we have two people actually that goes out and verifies that the companies are doing what they said they was going to do. All right? And it says here, they monitor the actual utilization of MBEs, WBEs, and DBEs that have been listed as subcontractors. That's what they do. And then they report it back to our compliance unit, and then they report the payments that have been made. They want to make sure that those vendors get paid too, so that's beneficial. If anyone you are subs, we monitor the payments to those vendors to make sure that they get paid for the work that they've been doing on those jobs. All right. So ways to achieve compliance. If you are the prime, you could be an MBE, WBE, or DBE. So you are the prime, you are already MBE, and you get awarded the contract, so you've already achieved compliance already right there. Or you can joint venture with another MBE or WBE, and then join together. Now you're getting your compliance that way. Or the third way is you can go out and find a new subcontractor to do the work as an MW or DBE. Or the last way is by purchasing materials. And as I mentioned, this is the supplier efforts that you can make, and actually use in the performance of the contract from any MW or DBE. Okay? So the reporter requirements, all primes are responsible for submitting the monthly subcontractor payments, certification forms to our compliance unit, and the weekly certified payrolls, and any waiver of liens. So we request this from the prime contractors, just so you know. And we, as a department, will send the, there was a technician, actually, we'll call it, to go out and verify that the subs are on the actual job site working as they specified in the contract. All right? So now we're talking about the programs and bid incentives. These are the things that the city will offer you as a contractor or as a prime to lower your bid price to maybe you can then become the low bidder on a project. We offer a small business incentive. So say, for instance, we had 3 bidders that came in, and all of them bid $100. So they're all the same right now. These incentives right there, if you say if you apply any of these incentives, like the small business, most of these are 2%, that we'll reduce off the total base bid. You still get paid $100, but we reduce off of that total base bid 2% for if you said, I'm a small business, I want to apply for this. That's 2%. The mid-sized business, I'm also a mid-sized business or diversity credit, target market program, or the mentor protege, or the MWBE phase graduation program. Well, actually, that's flipped around. The bid incentives are all the ones on the bottom. Those are all the ones that you would apply for the 2%, 4%, or 6%. The ones above it are ways for us as a city to be able to go out. The small business means that we're going to have a small job between $1 million and $3 million, and only those firms are able to bid that job. mid-sized business program means there's 3 million to 7 million. Only those firms in that ratio can bid those projects. Then you have a non-construction MBEI program that's new, and so we'll have more on that. A diversity credit program, a target market program that's non-construction, a mentor protege program where someone would take you on a project to show you, so then you can graduate from there and say, okay, I can do this myself, and then I can handle my own job by myself. And then the MBWBE phase graduation program. So those are the different programs we offer. The incentives are what I mentioned earlier, how you can reduce your bid price. So then, like I said, if we was all $100, those little incentives there will help you become the low bidder, because we would take off 2%, another 2%, but you can't just fill those out. You have to be a veteran owned. You have to be a city-based manufacturer. You have to be a city-based business, and some other ones on here too, that you have to alternatively power vehicle. If you have hybrid vehicles in your units, you want to make sure if you have it, somebody will come out and verify that. But that's all the different incentives that we offer, okay? All right, so the DPS website, Ms. Jacqueline Umbles, our humble person who took care of this day, she knows a lot about this here. We do these, our DPS website. It shows so many things that we do as a department. It shows all of our awarded contracts and modifications, shows all the payments to you, the vendors. It shows all of our bid tabulation, so you don't have to actually come down here anymore. You can actually go to our website and you will see who won the actual bid. The weekly bid opportunities, you want to know, oh, when is something that I'm interested in going to be out there? You will see that. You have a searchable MWBE directory. As I mentioned, if you're bidding a job, you want to know some other firms that can help you do the job. We have that outside as well. All of the bid incentives I just mentioned about, all of our regulations, and that's the website URL right there, cityofchicago.org/procurement. Okay, so if you want more information, you can check. We're Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we tweet. So we a little bit everything. So we're now in the 21st century. We are as transparent as you want to be in terms of that's what you want from your city government, to be able to go out there and see everything that's going on and not be in the dark. You want to be able to just go to any of these sites, and that's in your list of documents here, and be able to find out anything on any kind of bid or what's coming up in the city of Chicago. All right, so we open up for any questions that you guys might have. Okay, go ahead.
He needs the mic.
Oh, well, let's do this. Is it on?
I think it's already on.
Yeah, it is. Okay, go ahead.
You mentioned direct and indirect when you was referring to like digging a ditch.
Yes.
If you have a company and the resources that you use, someone may do a riser diagram or create a blueprint for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that considered direct or indirect?
That's indirect, because what it is, like I say, let me talk like, somebody doing something that's not directly related. Now that's directly related to, and it depends on what the scope of what the job is, okay? So, and are we talking construction related?
Well, your real estate,
Go ahead.
real estate development consultant.
Okay, real estate, okay. I mean, in certain instances that could be then, yes. Okay, I was speaking more in a construction related, yes, that could be more, so that could be followed as direct. Because as long as it's impact the overall achievement of the contractor to do the job, that's direct. Indirect means there's something behind the scenes that has no direct, and that's why they use the word direct, indirect, it has no direct conclusion on the finality of a job. So if it helps to finish that job, then it's considered direct. Hopefully that definition helps you with that.
All right, thank you.
Okay? Any other questions? Let me come around this way. Go ahead.
I have a question on submitting the bids. Will you be able to submit the bids online in the
Oh,
future?
so now so now you're talking about what we've been doing since January 2018. It's called e-procurement.
Okay.
All commodities, small orders, the vehicle heavy equipment and work services have not come out line yet. But all of our commodity bids are now e-procurement. So what happens now is that we allow the vendors, you don't even have to come in here at all. Actually, we'll put something out saying this is now on the street. You can pull the document down, submit it, and you do everything online and submit it back online. And this has been going since January 2018.
For commodities?
No, commodities,
Small.
small orders, construction, all of our construction, and the professional services I mentioned, the RFQs and RFPs that we've done, not all of them, but a good portion of them are all e-procurement. And like I said, allows you as a vendor to pull the documents down, review them, and then resubmit them back online. You don't have to come here for the bid opening. And actually, you don't even have to come here at all. They will open the bids, and you can watch it on YouTube. Yeah, so that's all right. Oh, we go over that way? Yeah. Yes.
Hi, my name is Joe. For construction contracts,
Yes.
their pre-bid meeting, is that the same day that the bids come out, or will there be some time between that 10 and 30-day period?
Okay, that's usually, I'm gonna give this estimate, it could be the day after it advertised, so if today being the 24th, small orders, let me just back up a little bit, small orders can be off because they're so small order. We can have a one-day bid opening period to 2 to 3 to 5 to 10 days because it's so quick. But in a perfect world, we would like the pre-bid because we want you to know that it's one out there. Usually it's 5 days to 10 days after the actual advertisement. So it's right in the middle of the actual bid period. Because what happens is the pre-bid will generate questions, so we want to be able to respond to those and not affect the bid opening date. So that's how that ties with the pre-bid. So let's just think of it as usually about 5 to 10 days after the advertisement. That's what you should be looking for a pre-bid.
So 5 to 10 days after you get the pre-bid, you get the bid package?
No. The advertisement of the bid on the street.
On the street.
Meaning it just hit the street.
Right.
5 to 10 days after that, we have a pre-bid.
Okay.
Then after that is usually a 20-day period for everybody. Okay, you went to pre-bid. Oh, I understand what they want. 20 days later, that's the bid opening. That's when you submit your bids to here at the City of Chicago.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, I'm
Yes.
Sherry.
Okay.
The program and bid incentives part.
Okay.
These programs that are listed, how do you go
program.
about getting more information on the website or?
Well, no, you can actually do just what we're doing today. We're going to have a workshop on that next May 2nd. Well, no. The program I'm doing next week with Gordy is on the other part, the bottom part of the program. Oh, no.
Program.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm on the program. Yeah, I'm going to do the program, the incentives. You're asking about the programs. Yes, I'm going to do that on the programs next May 2nd about SBI, MBI, and all those programs. And I'll go more in depth about what those offer. Yes. Yes. All right. Right behind you. Okay.
Question.
Yeah, sure.
Can a MBE, and a WBE, can they go together as a joint venture on a construction project? Would it still require the same oversight as far as what a joint venture would consist of?
Like you said, so you would be an MBE, and you found somebody else who's a WBE.
Right.
Yeah. So you're going to be your portion of the involvement is going to be the MBE side.
Right.
And then whoever the WBE is the joint venture is going to
Right.
provide the WBE
So
portion.
will
Yes,
it still
could.
require 50%
50% of,
of the work?
Yeah,
that
exactly
may be
right.
done by each company?
Exactly, for each company, yes. Okay? Yes.
As a BEPD, they explain I do not have to pay the fee because of the BEPD. Does that automatically enroll me as an MBE?
Now, see, that is outside of what I would handle. And that, young lady, Miss Larkin, that was here, would have been able to answer that, because like I said, that's more of a certification question, yes. So I would, when is the next meeting for doing business or a certification workshop?
You can just call that number.
You could call.
302-744-4900 and choose option 1. And,
Okay, okay.
one of them can answer that.
They can answer that question, yes. Okay. All right, anybody? Yeah.
Can you give me an idea about what a percentage of the plans for a construction project would consist of? The percentage that you have to put up for construction plans, is there?
Well, for a construction project, the plans.
Just for the plans.
They come, like I said, now 100% of all our construction bids are online.
Okay.
So when you say you want to look at it, it's free for our plans. There used to be, you had to, if you came down here before January 1st, 2018, you had to give them certified or whatever for $25, $50 to pick up the plans. But now they're uploaded with all the documents, so that's not the case anymore. So you'll see all the plans and documents in our construction bids.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Could you define, when you mentioned earlier about the 10% toward the project? I didn't want to interrupt you when you were speaking, so that's something that he made come to mind when Joe asked that question.
What was the 10% for?
It was
Oh, yeah, that was that plan deposit, yeah. Like I said, for all of our construction partners, that is actually an old slide, because like I said, if you say, for instance, you look online and you saw a project that you was interested in, you can go out and look at it and download it. There's no fee. There's not going to be a charge to you as a vendor to go look at that. So you can go look at all of our solicitation for construction without paying any fees. Now, that was in the past. Now, there are bid bonds. Now, what we mentioned, when it's time for you to turn in your bid, when you turn in the bid, we ask for a 10% of the contract. What we ask for is only the first and second low bidder. So we don't want you as saviors. The bids came in $100, $200, $300. Only the first bidder and the second bidder would be responsible to pay that 10%. So you come up with that $10, and then it goes toward that. If you're not awarded it, it's refundable back to you. But the low bidder would be then, and that's how we get that fee for the plan, not for the plan, for you being a part of bidding that particular specification. Okay, 10%, it's called a bid bond. We don't want the money if you're not going to be the low bidder on the project, okay? Just so you know that, okay? Yeah.
Are you allowed to subcontract certain parts of the job?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, that was what we spoke about, yeah, that you can, now there are certain specs that require no goals. Well, no goals mean that there is no goals required. You do not have to go out to an MBE, WBE. But, say for instance, you don't feel like you can handle the entire job. As long as you do 51% of any job, you can sub out the rest of it. And it doesn't have to be to a WBE or MBE. We're just saying that's how we want to meet our goals. We're saying if you cannot handle that part, or is maybe outside of your concentration of what you do, you can go sub out, but you cannot sub out more than 51%, because that means that the other company is then the prime. Exactly right. Okay? So that's all we want to make sure of. Okay? Anyone else? Any other questions?
Was there a W?
Hold on. Let me get you the mic. Okay, there you go. Go ahead.
Was there a WMBE, where it's a woman business?
Oh yeah, well, oh yeah. So you can, yes, you can be a black woman, and
Not just
no.
Yeah.
Let's think about that.
Women business, women minority.
MWBE. Yeah, you can be, yes. But you can only get portion for one of them. You cannot select both. So you understand that? So You could be a black woman, that's an MBE, but you also have to, your certification has to show that you are an MBE. But on that job, you still have to find the WBE portion of it, because you're satisfying both, but we only, of course, you want to take the 25, whatever, the higher goal one, exactly right. Okay, does that make sense? Want to make sure, but you still got to go find that other 5% to do that, yes. Okay, but that makes sense for you, yes. All right, any further questions? All right, if not, I appreciate your time, thank you, and hopefully this helped you out and for any future bids or participation or anything with the city of Chicago. All right, thank you. Gary Bell, yes, yes. Yes. Oh, hold on. Oh, totally. Oh, okay. See, now she didn't know too much. No, she never. What?
We might have even gone out for some little dinner.
Yeah, you do look familiar too. Hold on, let me turn this off before we say something we don't want.